Hey everyone. So before we go, okay, so I'm in the editing room. The editing room. There's no room. It's the same room. Um, so I'm here editing this video, and because I've decided to include clips of Trump and Jada Pinkett, I thought it necessary to provide clips of a codependent as well, or an empath. The name doesn't really matter to me so much. But to show our, like, really, this is to drive the point of this whole video home that our dysregulated identity is the codependent, and our regulated identity or a stable identity is everything else outside of that, that includes traits of a codependent. So maybe some caretaking traits, empathy, things like that. This is just us being dysregulated. I really want to drive this home. If I could find a video of me from a few years ago, I would show it to you. I don't have an issue with being, um, I don't know, like wrong or whatever in the past. The whole purpose of this channel, like, it's not to defeat the narcissist, defeat the borderline. No, it's not to have righteousness and tell you, like, look how happy my life is, or some bullshit like that. I'm not here to take your money or like anything like this. It's really um true, well, as good as I can from a place of compassion and from a place of really genuinely like wanting to help other people. For me, it was years and years and years until I had the courage to really face this side of me. And it came from, you know, sort of giving up and being like, okay, fuck it. I will call myself a codependent, even though I really hated the term for the same reason that everyone who is codependent hates it. In the base of who we are, um, our strength comes from our independence, our feeling of independence, our feeling of not needing other people to emotionally regulate ourselves. And what we need to hear, certainly in the very beginning, like after the abuse, is that it wasn't our fault, and that we're not bad people, and that we're not responsible for the abuse. Because all throughout the abuse we endured, we were told, this is all your fault. Like, you did this, you're the bad person. So to come out of that and have somebody say, you did this to yourself, or there's things that you really need to work on, some core things you need to work on that aren't just having better armor or like warning signs against a narcissist, but things that might be more a part of you than you realize. It's we have such a huge resistance to it. We also have a huge resistance to it because, for a lot of us, like, we didn't grow up in really emotionally or obviously emotionally abusive situations. And so it doesn't feel right, this sort of like, clinical whatever. So for me, I feel like this, like, it doesn't matter to me if your abuse started when you were really young and it's so obvious to you, or if you feel like it's something that just happened later in life, like, for whatever reason, you let this person into your life because maybe your self-esteem was lower, or you felt like they're way out of your league, or all the different things I've read online about why you started it. For me personally, it's okay. It's not important for me if for you it goes all the way back to your childhood. I don't need to prove or disprove a theory in this area. Now, I've found things that have gone back to mine, and I didn't have a terrible childhood, but I have still found, I've been able to draw lines now, but I don't think it's the most important thing. The most important thing is to heal, to be in a place that you feel good. Um, and I'm going to show you this guy. And this is just random. Like, I didn't search for this guy in particular. This is DeMars coaching. I didn't search for him in particular. I just, like, YouTube searched, I'm not a codependent, or I'm an empath, or this sort of thing. And it's just a video I found. And it was just so perfect when I saw it. Now at 6 years old, I don't know if he feels differently about it now. He may, we need to hold space for each other to grow and to change. But what I love about it is that it is totally what I would have told you also 6 years ago. I would have watched this video 6 years ago and I would have been like rooting for it. I would have been someone in the comment section being like, bro, thanks so much. So I want to say that when we watch a little bit of this, I'll clip a bit of it and I'll put the full video in the description. Um, you know, uh, yeah, it's this is me as well. This is me as well. That's what I want to say is that so I'm here in the editing section. I want to show a video of us as codependents, or that I want to prove my theory basically that we have a stable identity, and then in abuse or in trauma, we have our trauma identity, which is the codependent identity. And the more in a state of trauma you are in your life in general, the more codependency is going to be your full total identity. And the less you are, the less it's going to be that. The fact remains that if in trauma, this is our natural reaction, it means that we have this sort of peaceful protector about us, right? We're going to be great negotiators. There's no, hierarchy or best defense, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. There's no best one. There's a better one in each situation. But in some situations, the very best thing you should do is negotiate, is surrender, is, imagine a bank robber comes in and robs a bank. What are you going to do? Are you going to go and fight them? Even you're the bank teller, even you're the bank owner, are you going to put your life on the line, or are you going to fawn or freeze, try to camouflage, don't stand out from the other people who are, being held hostage, right? So there's no best way to survive, but there's different feelings we have about it. And as people who can fall victim to codependency, if we want to call it that, for me anyway, personally, I fucking hate and hated a lot more in the past feeling like weak or needy. It was such a huge point of shame for me, which is so fucking telling. If I'm feeling a lot of shame in that area, it's indicating it's a place I don't want to go. If I have a lot of resistance to something, it's showing a place that I don't want to go. That's not true all the time. Maybe I have a lot of resistance to somebody accusing me of something that is really completely insane and untrue or whatever. But this is a little bit different because all of us admit, yeah, okay, sometimes, but fuck you. That's not me. It's very different than if someone said to me oh, you're so you get so angry and aggressive and mean and you say the meanest shit and blah, blah, blah. I might actually say, sometimes I'm like that, but that's really not me. And the authority with which I would express that is totally different than me in the past, the authority that I would express the I'm not a codependent but statement. So let's watch a little bit of this video together and see if you see yourself in any of this. And I'm going to show you guys some of the comments as well, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I want to tell you that 6 years ago, this video is 6 years old, I would have liked, subscribed, and if I had the I don't know, the need to comment, I would have been like, you're the best. Yes, I totally agree with you. So let's watch a little bit of this. Full link will be in the description. So first things first, guys. The title, Crazy Narcissist Ex-Girlfriend. So I'm not the crazy one. It's them. There's nothing wrong with me. It's a sort of a continuation of this, but just right away.
Hello everybody, my name is David. Thank you for watching Crazy Narcissist Ex-Girlfriend. Today's topic is about codependency. I have made other videos and I've talked about codependency before and I don't really care for it. It's not that I'm trying to deny that I am or was a codependent. It's not that. And I've gotten into arguments with people that are animate about saying I'm a codependent. Whatever. Worry about yourself. What I'm trying to stress is, yes, A misdiagnosis can be very wrong, but it's the process of therapy where they add this codependency thing that I think really hinders healing, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, so super interesting. He's neither confirming or denying that he's a codependent, but he's actually going to deny that he's a codependent. And if you notice, there's this little piece in there that's going that where he says, "Yeah, sometimes I acted like this," and we're going to see this all throughout this video. There's going to be a ton of examples where he goes, "Yeah, this," but there's a whole explanation why. See yourself in it. It's not about this is not about any of us here watching this and feeling a level of righteousness over it. It's just see yourself in it, because I don't know about you, I see myself in this too.
This is why I have a problem with it. Therapists only know what they're taught. They can only help you by what they've been told. They only are educated by their education. So, right now, as of now, therapists are not educated about narcissism. Now, they can identify a narcissist. Their education tells them what one is, but it does not help them understand what the damage is done by them, what the damage is that they cause to other people around them. That's something they are not taught.
Okay, this maybe in general this could be true, but this is why if you're going to go to therapy, go to somebody who specializes in abuse, toxic relationships, core trauma, things like this. Ross Rosenberg shoots around the term codependency like it's nothing. Now he has another term for it, self-love deficit disorder. He's trying to like rebrand it and stuff so that people are more open to looking at it. But he's been in like more than one abusive relationship. He knows the pain. I know the pain. So I'm not a therapist.
So, when you go into a therapist and your problem is a relationship, and you begin to tell that therapist that the person abused you and cheated on you and hit you and other, and then she or he finds out that you've been with them for 4 years, you're instantly going to be labeled a codependent, and I understand that from the therapist's point of view.
Okay, super fucking interesting here. That you've been in a relationship and you've been abused, you've been hit, you've been cheated on, you've been lied to. So like all this terrible shit has happened. And not only that, over a span of 4 years, and you stayed for 4 years. And they're like, this is the mental gymnastics we do to avoid any level of our identity being about our dysregulated identity, because it's us out of control. Like, why no one wants this identity.
Okay, I understand that. A therapist can only treat and help what's in front of them, and that's what they see. I get it. The problem with that is that if you're not a codependent and this person is telling you you are, and you now believe that you are going to take a lot of the fucking blame that is unnecessary. The reason I believe it's unnecessary is codependent relationships are with mentally ill people, drug addicts, alcoholics, abusers. But you're aware of it. The person sits there and fucking drinks on the couch all day, and you go to the store and get them the alcohol, stuff like that. You enable and support them to do this.
Okay, this is a very common point and a very interesting point. I've got a video coming out on codependency. It's quite long, and I'm adding pieces to it, so it's not out yet. But I cover this a little bit in there, so I'll just be brief on this. So interesting. How interesting is it that he wants to tell you, um, oh my God, it's so fun. It's so funny. It's so funny. This is the funniest thing. This is comedy. This is comedy gold. Let's go back a bit. I forget what I was going to say.
People, drug addicts, alcoholics,
All right.
abusers. But you're aware of it. The person sits there and fucking drinks on the couch all day, and you go to the store and get them the alcohol, stuff like that. You enable and support them to do this.
Wow. You enable and support them to do this, and you're aware of it. This is codependents or people who suffer from abuse and trauma and stuff. We avoid this like the plague. It's so interesting because, all right, there's two views, okay? One is I was totally blind to it and I didn't know what it was. And if I didn't know what it was, how am I supposed to take responsibility for it? That's one line of thinking, right? We'll come back to that. The other line of thinking is I was aware of it and I knew it was bad and I stayed. Which story would you rather have? Both stories suck, by the way, and I'll tell you why they both suck. Like to own, like you don't want to own either of these stories. Ignorance feels better, right? Because it feels better, you know. Like I didn't mean it. I didn't mean for it to happen. It feels better, but this is why it's bad. Why were you blind to it? Why were you blind for 4 years to abuse? Why were you blind to that? Why do you have such a crazy blind spot for someone who cheats on you, hits you, abuses you physically, sexually, emotionally, spiritually, all the ways, and you're blind to it? Is that work? And why? Why would you be blind to it? Could it be? I mean, I feel like if you're so blind to it, there's two possible, in my opinion anyways, two possible points of origin. One is that the abuse you endured when you were younger was so bad in different ways that you had to be blind to it. You couldn't see it as abuse, or you couldn't love that parent who was abusive to you. It's really sad, right? But you have a blind spot because it was too devastating to look at the truth of your situation when you're just an infant, when you're just a child and helpless. So that's one root of that tree. The other root could be that you were so sheltered growing up and you were so overprotected growing up that you were not aware that there's people who are bad in your life. So that, I don't know if we would still call that abuse in the same way, right? But that would mean that you might have had very overprotective adults around you, who didn't let you get hurt literally or cognitively. So they may have been then therefore making excuses for the behavior of other bad people, or whatever it is. So those are the only two roots of that side that I can see. And both can, I guess, have their roots back to your childhood, right? Or maybe you had a very enmeshed family. Maybe your family, they were all like very codependent, all of them, very empathic, but sharing emotions. And there's a way you weren't able to, there's parts of your identity, darker parts of everyone's identity in the family that weren't allowed to be seen. So maybe in the family system, people weren't really expressing their true needs and desires. And there was a level of, therefore, like dishonesty in that childhood. So that's this side of it of I didn't know. It's still a bad answer and still needs therapy and still needs work. Understand that. The other side of it, okay, I knew fucked up shit was happening. My friends told me leave. I told me leave. I even went online and found out about personality disorders, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't leave. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with, there's something fucked up about me. There's something fucked up about me. This is scary to do because it confirms, though not completely, what your abuser's been saying to you, which is there's something wrong with you. You're fucked up. And Do you want to heal is the real question you need to ask yourself. The ignorance way of, or sorry, this is the ignorance way. The ignorance way of saying there's never anything wrong with me is a major problem. Um, and because it means that the exploration of it, if it's less obvious to you, then it might mean you need more therapy and work than you realize. Okay. I was in this camp, by the way. I was in this camp later. Eventually I joined this team, but in the beginning I was here, and I had like, there was things that surprised me, eventually later, about things in my childhood, things in my upbringing, that was like, oh fuck, you know. But I didn't see that for a very long time. So I was in this camp too. Now eventually I was in this camp because I knew about personality disorders, and I didn't leave. I had that. I got a video on addiction. I had the addiction to it too. But this is super interesting, guys. That you know, it's yeah. The question you need to ask yourself is like, what does it say? What does it say about me, like to me, not other people, but to me, like from me to me? What does it say about me if I was totally innocent and this person fucked me up? What are the judgments and the messages and the prescription that I need for this situation, versus I knew it was bad, and I kind of was willingly in denial, or there's some needs I had to stay in it. What are the things you say to yourself in this situation versus what are the things in this situation? In this situation where it's like very innocent and ignorant, and all of those things, what do you say to yourself there? Well, I can say to myself, I can forgive myself, right? I can have acceptance. It wasn't my fault. I can stop shaming myself. There's a lot of very good things initially that come out of this statement. The bad things that come out of, so all of the acceptance stuff and the self-love and the kindness to show yourself, actually both roots need that, and your healing needs that. Shaming yourself will not heal you whatsoever. So both roads actually need a loving kindness towards yourself. Both do. This one seems easier, right? Because um I think it's because we're already very judgmental of ourselves to begin with, and we don't realize that as codependents or caretakers or whatever, right? We're quite judgmental of ourselves. Um, but the prescription here is the problem, because the prescription, when it's not your fault at all, the prescription is do all of your due diligence, educate yourself on everything narcissism, everything borderline, everything abuse, red flag checklist, which means living a life of complete paranoia and fear, because at any time somebody could jump out of a bush and manipulate you, and that's really terrifying. And maybe on some level, maybe it's true, but I would say that actually this other side, really understanding yourself in a deeper way of what are some of the core issues with you that made you either completely ignorant and blind, or you saw stuff but you needed to stay in a level of denial beyond simply the addictive part of the relationship. Like what were you covering up? What were your needs? And that analysis, and getting to know that, and then healing that is like, that's the real, if you want to have a narc protector or whatever, this is it. This is not it. The red flag checklist, the armor, I have to act this way, on a date, first date, watch how they treat the waiter and stuff. You don't need that, because the problem with when you felt ignorant about it is that you didn't have the instinct for it. Well, there's a reasons why you didn't have the instinct for it, and this is where you'll find it out. But it requires that on a certain level you own up to um, pieces of what we would call codependency. Let's watch some more.
Now, I didn't even know what the fuck emotional abuse was. When my ex, yes, my ex has cheated on me a couple of times, but never in front of me. I never said it was okay. I didn't enable her. I didn't help her. We broke up and she convinced me she'd never fucking do it again, and then she was very, very sorry. That's not codependency. That happens. I'm not saying all the time, but people cheat. It happens. Relationships sometimes can get through it. That's what I believed. So when a therapist tells you you're a codependent, is what happens is eventually what they're trying to do is get you to stop taking you to take your attention off of them, because they believe that your fucking identity is through them, and it's not true with a narcissist relationship. That is not fucking true. Is what they want you to do is put the attention onto you so they can start fixing you. Well, that's great.
It is great.
But
it is great.
What needs to happen is this relationship needs to be processed in your head. You don't know what happened, especially.
That's true. You have to process. You have to process and reframe to break the trauma bond. It's very true.
Especially if they're covert, man. You don't know what the fuck was going on.
Especially if they're covert. I think covert and borderline maybe are synonymous or very close. You know, everything is on a spectrum, right? But if we were to draw a line from like us as a codependent, you have like borderline in the middle, and then narcissistic on the other end of unhealthy bonding society. It's, you know, us three. And I would say that this idea of this covert narcissist and borderline is like, that's right on the border, right? And it just depends on how much self-awareness and guilt or shame did you see them experience is going to be, if you felt like it was a high level, then maybe you'll call them borderline. And if you felt like, no, the abuse was worse than that other side, then you're going to go with narcissist.
You're left with you're just fucking puzzled. By the time they left and walked out that door, you're like, what the fuck has been happening? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. You're in a state of incredible trauma, and so much of your identity has been blown away, and you are in that fawning, right? You've been accommodating them so much, and your identity, at least when they're around, has changed.
Begin to blame yourself. You're confused. You don't know what to do. So when you have a therapist saying you're codependent, okay, I'm codependent. Okay, what's wrong with me? This is what's wrong with me. This is why I did this. This is why I did that. Oh, I hope I don't ever do this again. Well, you have not found the truth. You haven't
found the truth.
Processed the things that have happened. If you begin to do that, you will find out that you may not be codependent. It may appear that way to a therapist, but it may not be what was actually happening or going on. If you don't know what was going on in the relationship, it's hard to be judged for it.
Wow. Holy shit. That's it. Let's rewind that. This is why you need to be ignorant. Watch. This is why. This is exactly why you can't look at this. And it's not just us who are like that. This is the borderline is like this too. If you're ignorant of it, you can't be judged for it. Wow. This is gold.
Happening or going on. If you don't know what was going on in the relationship, it's hard to be judged for it.
If you don't know what was going on in the relationship, it's hard to be judged for it. So that means if you don't, yeah, the hidden things, and the borderline would say the same thing, and the narcissist would say the same thing. Oh my God. Wow. Deep.
You know? So it's just so vitally important to get to the truth. You have to get to the truth. And it's not by completely examining yourself and not paying any attention to the ex.
Okay, I would agree with that. And I don't think a therapist would tell you not to do that as well. Now, 12 steps does put a huge focus back onto us as opposed to onto them. But understanding abuse and understanding having some focus on them and processing it, you definitely do it in my video on the couple tools that we use. That is absolutely when my focus automatically goes on them, how to process that, how to look at it. And there's nothing in me that to this day says I wasn't abused or that it was okay or that they didn't do anything wrong. I don't say that at all. I said I was abused. They did a lot of things wrong. I didn't deserve the level of abuse. Um, it was really painful. It damaged me psychically. All of those things are absolutely true. But the healing, if I stop there, the healing won't come in a deeper way where I can really forgive my exes. Now, I have times if I focus on the bad shit that happened or whatever, yeah, then I can come back to a place that I can't forgive at all. Um, but generally, I can, and genuinely, like I can, like it's. I'm just trying to be super honest with you guys. Like we're human beings, and you'll always be able to embody any resentment you've had. Like you'll always be able to go back and do that. Just as you'll always be able to embody a feeling of love you've had or a feeling of joy you've had. Like you really, any of these emotions, you can conjure them back by yourself. Some are easier than others. And trauma that is unresolved automatically takes you to that traumatic place. It automatically carries you there. You have no fucking choice. The trauma will carry you there without you doing anything. Once it is resolved, for you to go back to there, might take some specific or odd triggers, um, to take you back, or it's like far more conscious of like you consciously going back as opposed to in the beginning. And when the trauma isn't resolved, the trauma just it's always calling to you, right?
The ex did a lot of fucking shit to you. Over time, they damaged your brain, and you needed to figure out,
Yeah.
what they were doing. What was their true intentions?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. What was their true intentions? Wow. No. Any aware cluster B person, any truly aware cluster B person will tell you that it's a mix of awareness and unawareness. And there's so many yeah, I mean if someone is super sociopathic, then they're aware for the most part. But remember too that like if you like watching any true crime or things like that, that their grandiosity is always what gets the narcissist or the sociopath busted. It is always their grandiosity. It is that they can't fucking stop, and at some point it's over, right? I guess some get away with it, must happen, right? But like the grandiosity is what gets them, which means they're not as in control um, as you think they are, even when they're at that top level, sociopath control level or whatever. Um, but this idea, what are they after? Yeah, what are they after? Um, they're after love. They're after love, and uh, yeah.
So you don't feel like, oh no, I deserve this. There's a lot of fucked up psychology that goes on with this. And people need to be very sensitive in handling this.
So interesting, so interesting. So for him, clearly, he's still deep into his trauma. He's still deep in it. Now he's coaching people while he is deep into his trauma. And my I have two thoughts about that. So one is that as long as he's still in this sort of trauma, there's only a certain level he can take you to. Um, because he's not exploring his whole dark side, you know, the darkness to his own identity, or his perceived darkness, right? Like it doesn't mean someone on the outside would say like, oh wow, that's so selfish of you that you want a pepperoni pizza and not a vegetarian one, you piece of shit, you know. It's not like, you know, there's anyway. um wow, this is so great.
In dealing with people, I have to be
Right, so for him with his therapy and stuff, it means he's going to give you a lot of what he needs. Just as for me, like, what do I present to you? Well, I present to you often the missing pieces that I needed, which was that looking at myself and the healing around that. So even with my channel, like, I'm giving you what I think I needed in the end, or what I know I needed in the end, as far as I know. Is there more beyond the things I've done since, you know, healing? I believe there is. However, um, yeah, the just acceptance stuff and really understanding the borderline and all that, or narcissist, is so important in the beginning. And I'm so thankful for channels that did that, probably including his too. Um, you know, and what I mean his is that, like, people who are still stuck in their resentment and their anger and not taking um a full look at themselves to really transform in a way that isn't just putting on new armor. It's really, yeah, having a kind of inner contentment and an inner peace.
very sensitive to my clients, and I don't need to be doing this shit.
Wow. That's the pain. Look at the pain in his eyes. This is painful. This is so painful for me to see. My heart on some level explodes because I know that this is the tool of abuse, right? This is the tool of abuse. And if you're doing this to you, it is self-abuse. So this is the tool of abuse. But if you're doing this to them, it's still holding this wild judgment that needs retribution and redemption. And it really means that the dark side of yourself, you're unable to confront, because if you see the dark side of yourself, you're going to do this to it too. And what is the dark side of yourself? Does it mean the really terrible, awful abuser that you are? It can mean that. But remember that the dark sides of us are simply the sides of us that we have rejected. Okay. So this finger pointing is what he does to his own dark side, which might be a terrible, awful sociopathic side that he has, because we all have that, right? I'm not like, we all have this on some level. We all are capable of really terrible things. So we need to keep our own killer or sociopath at bay on some level. We all do this. But there's a lot of dark parts of us that aren't that dark that we do this to, right? When you're being a perfectionist, this is what you're doing. So this is an indication of how sensitive he is to that. And this is exactly what I mean about why why the resistance we have around the codependency is that the codependency is protecting the last piece of our identity. And then if you get through that, it's just shame, because it's like ego annihilation is right behind that door, which is why the abuse is so hard for everybody, you know. But so hard for us is that our ego is being threatened, our identity is being threatened. You know, you're vital. That's your vital spirit, if you will, right? It's always just being blown to bits. It's like the worst. So the last thing he wants is to have this blown to bits. And no therapist or anybody, well or ill intentioned, is ever going to do that to him again. This is another defense mechanism. And it might be a necessary defense mechanism before going deeper. This might be a necessity. Survival, right?
Right? They're already doing that. You guys are already doing this. It's me, 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 me. They're good. I'm bad. I deserve it. I'm fucked up. No, 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 no. These people damage everyone they come in contact with.
They damage everyone they come in contact with. Um, Mostly, yes. Intimate, definitely. Um, but think about these people could be these parents or these siblings or these neighbors or these family members. Like, it could mean a damage at a younger age.
I know for a fact that healthy people have dated, maybe not very long, but they've dated psychopaths, sociopaths, and narcissists, and they got damaged from it. And they weren't codependent. I do not believe I was codependent. Okay? I'll get to that.
It's going to be so interesting. I think what time? 6. Okay, at about 9 minutes, it gets great.
Uh, so, why I think I was not codependent, and this is something you guys can do.
Okay, why weren't you codependent? Why? Already, in the video I've shown you, we have a stable self-image and we have a dysregulated, unstable self-image. This is our identity and this is not our identity. And it's true. I mean, Buddhism talks about when you're in a mind of anger, you are delusional. So the way you perceive the world, what you're angry about, all that stuff, jealousy, any of the negative emotions, you're in some level of delusion where you don't really see reality for what it is. And Buddhists then therefore say, you're not, like, the anger is like an infection, right? And it's a delusion. And that's what we need to, rigorously, they wouldn't say battle. I'm just going to say battle, but like, that's what you should point at, is like that mind state, that delusion, and not the person, including yourself.
Okay? Codependent relationships is when you enable a person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement.
So this is going to be really funny because he's going to show you how he enabled all of these things.
That's a part of codependency. Now, I understand in a narcissistic relationship, your narcissist could be a loser, and but you helped them to try not to be a loser. You did every fucking thing you can to better their life, and you didn't accept them for being a loser. They lied.
Okay, so it's really interesting. You didn't accept them for being a loser. Oh, it's just there's so much to get from this. So, okay, you didn't accept them for being a loser. So part of the control we need is to control the negative feelings in other people. And some of the negative feelings that we're trying to control in others, we have like a very solid control of that within ourselves. So I need to control myself so I don't appear like a loser. I need to control myself, like, and so maybe I've been very good at that, at whatever that conception is. And anytime I think I'm a loser, or that the shame I feel is, it's just such a depth. It is indescribable, because I'm about to lose my whole identity because I was shown or taught or whatever that being a loser means that you are not worthy of life and you're not worthy of identity. Now, a lot of that for me came out of abusive relationships later in life. But still, that is, why is it that it was so easy for me to see someone else who might be a loser and to look at them with compassion and kindness? Now, I would look at them with compassion and kindness and then try to help them not to be that. That's a bit of the codependency, caretaking.
They lied. I'm great. I'm good at this. I've done this in my past. My past relationships with somebody that they were sick. Not me, they were. And I left them like I should. You know, I like gullible more than codependent. If that's
I like gullible more than codependent. I was fooled. I like ignorance. I like ignorance. No responsibility, right? It's better.
what you want to say. Now, the core definition, or the core thing about codependency is if you're codependent, that means you have an excessive reliance on other people for their approval or identity.
I have excessive reliance on other people for their approval or their identity. I think he's saying this in the wrong way. I think what he means is that we need their approval for our own identity. Well, yeah, you do. When you're dysregulated. When you're dysregulated, you need that person's approval like immediately. That's why you stayed. And because you needed their approval. Um, even after they cheated on you a couple of times, like even after all this crazy shit happened, you needed that for a sense of identity because imagine the opposite of it, right? I needed to stop them from shaming me. Okay. We can look at it like they're two sides of the coin, right? But the same coin. So I could say I needed their approval or I didn't need their shaming. So we could, oh, I was trying to get their approval. Oh, that's weak. No, I was defending myself. I didn't want them to shame me. Oh, okay. I like this one better. But they're the same thing.
Does that sound like you? Because it fucking absolutely zero sounds like me. Now, we all might need some approval. I get that, especially in society, especially with your peers, at workplace, stuff like that. You would like approval. But I fucking don't. It's not excessive. I don't rely on other people's approval or for my own identity.
Okay. I agree, disagree here. I don't the kind of narcissistic supply that a few, not all, but a few of my girlfriends, my exes had was really wanting to be the center of attention and get all that admiration and stuff like that. Whereas I think for a lot of codependents, we are like, or caretakers or whatever, our our desire to be noticed has a high level of humility, maybe even an over the top level of humility, which means that inner child of ours that really wants to stand out, that wants to be like, look at me, I'm so great, and wants to have that is incredibly suppressed because, and this can go back to our childhoods, that if we stood out too much, there was a heavy price to pay from somebody. If we were too good, there was a heavy price to pay from somebody. And that heavy price could be that you're now getting abused by that person, right? Someone is bullying you for they need to chop you down in an aggressive way. Or it could have been that your goodness caused someone else to feel shame, and their reaction to shame wasn't to attack you, but was to like start to drown, metaphorically. And so standing up, you see the damage you've done to someone you love accidentally. Shit, I better. Okay. Again, the dark side in them, part of our attraction is we want to take some of that back for us. We feel incomplete and sort of see the other side of see some of our dark parts in them, some of our discarded parts in them that they wear rather freely, and we want to put them back.
Think about it. If you took your car to a mechanic, do you just believe anything the mechanic says? Do you just throw money at him and say, oh, fix it, fix it, fix it? Well, this is your body. This is your mind. You don't have to believe every fucking thing a doctor tells you.
This is true. This is very true. There's a lot of fucking shitty therapists out there. Um, I recently got someone who's working with me now who's the fucking best. I tried years ago. Somebody else wasn't the best. Maybe it was the best for someone else. Just wasn't a good fit for me. This person I'm working with now is fucking amazing. So you need to use your own discernment. I agree with him here.
It could be true, but research, man. Find out for yourself. Look at the definition of codependency. Does that sound like you?
Look at the definition of codependency. Does that sound like you? Of course it doesn't. The codependent is our dysregulated self, and our regulated self is what I'm going to call my identity. And this is the same for all the human beings out there, unless if maybe if we're in a huge state of shame, then the dysregulated, fucked up person is us, right? So in those states, then maybe that's our identity. But the identity we want or that we associate with is this one.
It's very similar. I get that. I get that. My ex was immature. She was irresponsible. She was an underachiever. Now I know she had poor mental health. But I did not enable that.
You enabled it. You absolutely enabled it. You 120,000% enabled it. You really did. We all did. And it doesn't have to be shaming that we enabled it. It doesn't, we don't have to shame ourselves for it at all, but we did enable it. We did enable the behavior because either we were too scared to leave because of the violence and, cluster B's murder, right? So some of us stay to protect our own well-being or our children. So we would enable a lot of their behavior in that scenario, though cognitively from a different place. Some of us enable it out of fear because we didn't want them to leave us due to the loss of identity we would feel and the loss of value we would feel. Okay. And some of us didn't leave out of hope and, maybe this will get better. So we enable the behavior because the freezing and fawning is being in trauma when you don't want to leave, or when you can't leave, or you choose not to leave, or reflexively you don't think you can leave. You don't think you can eliminate the problem. You're going to freeze or you're going to fawn. And that tells you on some level, those by their very nature they enable the other person.
And if you want to tell me, like, just because you're with somebody or just whatever, I understood, I identified these things over time, and I did everything I could to help her, but it wasn't my fucking problem.
I did everything I could to help her, but it wasn't my problem. See what he means by that?
You know, I offered the help, and when she didn't want to do it, I didn't feel like not getting her driver's license wasn't a reason to break up with her.
But I feel like not getting a driver's license wasn't a reason to break up with her. Yeah, it shouldn't be a reason to break up with people. But there's going to be so much more behind this that we're about to see, because he's going to talk about that he rented a car for her. So think about how accommodating he's being to all of her needs and stuff like that. Think about this caretaking that when it's dysregulated can turn into what we call codependent.
I believed her that she was going to get it eventually. I would get pamphlets from the DMV and bring them home to her to study. I offered her my car. She said, I don't want to wreck your car, it's too nice. I went and got a rental car. I tried to help her, but I didn't make it the most important fucking thing, you know?
It didn't make it the most important thing. And look, he's minimizing because he got pamphlets for her. He offered his car, even though it was really nice. Probably the conversation was, look, it's okay if you don't, I trust you, I love you, right? Trying to show that trust and that love and that belief in someone who's cluster B is what we need to give to ourselves, to our dark discarded parts, right? But he rents another car, which could get damaged and he would have to pay for. Um, Goes to get stuff, and then he's like, but it wasn't really that important to me. It's super interesting, the level of okay, let me put it this way. If he's not denying it and he's like, no, 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 there's like way more important shit. I'm mentioning this, but it wasn't that important. But so imagine if this was a small thing, then what were the big things? And if the small thing was this much caretaking, then what were the bigger things? And if this was a big thing, but it wasn't that big of a deal, it's still indicating that, here's somebody who's saying, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. Um, I'm just a fuck up. And you're going, no, you're not. Look, I'm going to help you. And they continually are showing to you over and over again that they're not going to do it. And this is why a therapist would say, well, let's put the focus on you instead of on them.
And I didn't identify with that. It didn't make me who I am. I know damn well who I am, and she loved me for it.
Wow. Wow. I know damn well who I am, and she loved me for it. I know damn well who I am, and she loved me for it. This is so heavy. It's so heavy, man. It takes me right back. It takes me right back to, see the date? Maybe exactly 2 years ago. It was in the month of November. That's for sure. Maybe it was 2 months. Oh my God. What if it was like 2 months of the day? That'd be fucking crazy. Wow. Oh, I can just connect with his feelings of loss so much. Oh my God, man. Um, she loved me for the real me. Oh, oh man. It's like, so codependent identity. Let me talk about this a little bit. So this is not just codependent identity. This is human being identity. Is we don't really know what identity means, by the way. It's like the kind of the constant thing you are, but we don't really know how to define identity. And then Buddhism tells you don't even have any identity, which is fucking awesome. And that's another video of its own. But when he says like, it doesn't matter to me, I don't need the approval of other people. It doesn't matter, what other people think of me. I feel great about myself. I don't totally buy that. And I don't buy it for a number of reasons. So first of all, it's a very normal, natural human thing to rank our status, our good feelings, and things like that on things that we can attach to. Getting a bit Buddhist here, right? But things you can attach to, like, oh, I have a great phone, I have a great computer, my job, I'm a nice person, I'm insightful, I'm funny, so all of these things, we build a level of strength in our identity around those things. And the worst thing that happens, and I'll do a video on this, I meant to do it, my original identity video, I had all these other parts to it, but then I thought like, oh, I didn't quite agree with all of it. So I deleted a whole section of it that talked about this. But um yeah, maybe I'll redo it. But anyway, but fuck, man. Our identity is all these good things about us and these bad things about us. And then there's whole discarded sides of us that we are so unaware of, that pull us into these abusive relationships and then keep us there. And why he's wrong in terms of his prescription is, it's like half of it's right. Like, you need to accept and love and, have love and compassion for yourself and accept it. Yes. You need to know about abuse. Yes. You need to know these things. because the transformation you will make becomes emotional and spiritual, at least through 12 steps. That's got a spiritual component, but even if it's not through that, it is an emotional transformation. But because you have, because it wasn't instinctual for you to get out of their kind of relationship, it means that like instinctually, you're not wired to resist this, unfortunately. So to rewire that actually takes physical, mental, sustained effort. It's like learning anything new. Like if you want something to become second nature, you have to practice it over and over and over again. And then eventually it will be second nature. So just imagine like any new job you started or any new skill or new hobby you've tried. You weren't like amazing at it right away. Some we pick up easier than others, but we're not amazing at everything the first time we try, unless you're a narcissist. I don't know. But we're not amazing at everything we try in the beginning. So you have to actually like work at it to rewire your brain. And that's already what you're doing when you're online looking at what is a narcissist and all this stuff. But if you stay where he is, your brain is never rewired. Like your instinctual system is off. You're still, your amygdala is still in charge of a lot of things, because a narcissist can jump out of the bushes anytime and fucking abuse you, like, or you meet them at a cocktail party and the next thing you know, like, oops, I did it again. So yeah, but this identity stuff, I mean, for him to say that is just so, oh man, it's so touching, and it's so sad, because I know that I needed that from Mike, from the one thing that heals BPD and BPD abuse, to know that when my ex was in love with me, that it was authentic in terms of the way a borderline loves, right? Or the way a narcissist loves, in terms of that kind of worshiping love that's not really loving you for like a deep, a depth, a core. Because if there was that depth, deep core love for you, the abuse just wouldn't have happened. Or it would have been like a one-off fucked up thing that happened when they were, I don't know, intoxicated or dysregulated in life and in normal, but it would be like really a one-off thing. It would not be a repetitive thing. But the way they love or the way they worship or whatever, it is authentic in those moments, and they really weren't future faking. They really did want this. They just didn't know how to keep it, sustain it, or get it because of um, their own trauma, their own damage that has to be dealt with before there's even a chance that that other deeper love can actually have a place to happen. So he needs the approval because his identity is still blown out. Let me check how old his channel is. That's a really good idea. Because what I want to know is, you know, he has this coaching channel, and how old is his channel? 7 years. Oh wow, there's so many videos I want to know. Look at this. Anyway, so 7 years ago he started it. So that's only a year after he started the channel. And I would assume that if it's a year after he started the channel, you know, I'm 2 years out of healing, and I made dramatic, incredible steps in the first 2 months. But I'm still, my concept of progress is different. So I will say I'm still making progress, but it's how I conceptualize it in terms of my mental health is, it's not like a, you know, like getting to there sort of, it's not like that. But even I would say healthier than I was a couple of years ago. Okay, let's jump back into this.
She loved who I was and she loved my confidence. These people love who you are. You don't seek your identity through other people or through.
These people. It's just important just to understand that he's objectifying uh borderlines and narcissists, right? When we're saying, like, sometimes we say these people and we don't mean it in an objectifying way. So maybe I'm like overly projecting on that, but there's I just can tell by the whole thing that there's not it's these people to him in an objectifying way.
Them. They love you because you have a strong identity. It doesn't apply. I'm not saying codependents don't date narcissists. That makes sense. I understand it.
It's interesting that that makes sense. I understand it. He doesn't really go into detail how he understands it, but he really needs to not associate with codependency.
Understand that they would. I understand that, but I personally think a codependent, I don't know how good of a fucking mate they would make for a really strong narcissist anyways.
Wow. 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 Holy fuck. This is so relevant to me because I became a stronger on the outside person through being in successive relationships with abusers. And when we're discarded, we are in our mind, okay, I'll speak for me. I was just such a fucking loser and so unlovable. And just all the, like anything negative I could think about myself, especially around weakness, was there. I was boring. I was all of this stuff. My first relationship, I'd ended it, and then I tried to get back together with her, but she'd found someone else quite quickly, and it just threw me off so much. I thought, holy fuck, like she's so happy now, and the guy had all of these traits to him that I wish I'd had at the time of my life. He's well traveled, adventurous. Like there are certain things that certain parts of him that I had as well, but I hadn't explored them and done them yet. And I just the shame I was left with was just brutal, totally horrible, brutal shame. And I forgot what I was gonna say. Gonna go back with it.
Sense. I understand it. I understand that they would. I understand that, but I personally think a codependent.
Oh, right. Codependent's a really boring person. Okay, so the thing is this: when you're in a state of trauma, you are boring. When you're in a state of trauma, being fawning and fleeing, you are boring. And we know on some level that if we could have not given in so much, and if we would have fought more, then that relationship would have lasted longer, and or not as much of my identity would be blasted out. Or maybe I would have been so strong I would have yeah, fuck you in a fight and left them and then been totally fine with it. And they could be obsessed over me. Would that be the best? So I modified my personality to train myself over time to become what's called a compensatory narcissist, which is where I kept people more at bay, but on purpose, and change a lot of my attitude in the way that I interacted with women. And I made a video on that a few months ago. Maybe I will release it. I wasn't totally comfortable. It was a little bit like I was a bit ashamed of parts of it, but maybe that's why I should release it. But anyway, so this is kind of what he's saying is like, no, I was strong. Codependence. Let me stop this for a moment. You codependents, me too. Until you truly heal that codependent side of you and understand how to not just regulate the emotion of it, but make friends with that emotion, make friends with that part of yourself, and allow that friendship with it to give you access to more sides of you that you've discarded, a long, long time ago. And the fuller you become, you don't need you won't have the desire to say, as I used to have this desire so much. I would be like, okay, I'm codependent, but like that person's more than me. They're more codependent than me. I'm not like that bad. Like I'm like that sometimes. I get it. And yeah, I'm like nice and empathic, but like no, I'm not like that person. And we feel all of this uh it's because we feel shame. Truly we feel shame around it. It's such a humiliating feeling, so fucking humiliating to see yourself over time become weaker and weaker and weaker through the abuse. It's so humiliating to get to a place where you really need your partner to feel good about yourself. It's so humiliating to be discarded after doing so much to not be discarded, where we were being really accommodating. Retrospectively, we would much more prefer to have been the narcissist with fighting or running away, and that we would have ended it because we were such a good fighter or such a good runner. And we try to lie to ourselves and find the few times, the few pockets. For me, in my last relationship, it was very much in the beginning of the relationship. We get into a lot of like yelling fights, and I remember feeling good that I was yelling back and standing up for myself because of my history of codependency, because of my history of conflict avoidance and stuff. There was a level of power I felt there. But over time, it changed. It changed for two reasons. One was feelings of love and compassion. So I didn't want to treat somebody I love like that. So that was one side. And the other side was at some point we made concessions to each other to not yell and not do this. And of course, that became very one-sided, like um, double standard, right? So it's just so humiliating. It's just so humiliating to say I was that, or if I was that, that's part of me was in control of that, and part of me chose that is so humiliating because it's such a humiliating defeat, right? It's like being in a sword battle and then um, losing terribly, begging and crying, um, and them promising, we'll just come back to the kingdom and we'll, you know, don't worry about it. I'll forgive you and it's cool, but we can't date anymore or whatever. Or and they take you back to the kingdom and then humiliate you. They call like a conference, get all the townspeople and stuff to come, and they just fucking humiliate you there again. Um, and then chop you to pieces in front of everyone, and that's your fucking ending. That's what this feels like, right? Except it's truly not your ending.
I don't know how good of a fucking mate they would make for a really strong narcissist, anyways.
Strong narcissist needs a strong codependent. This is how weak, how humiliated we feel, and we hate more than anything to feel needy. And if we need anything, it's like a weapon or an arm or a tool or something like that. It's not um, the other stuff.
Sounds kind of boring, like a pushover, like a rug.
Like a rug who would, anyways, I don't want to insult.
They like fighters.
They like fighters sometimes.
They like people that say, hey, hey, no, you shouldn't do that. You're being a loser right now. You got to fix that shit. You can't do that to me. You know? We
Remember, he said, stop doing this. And now he's telling you what they like. They like this. There's just so much to unravel here. Um, yeah.
did that. You know that. We fought. My ex cheated on me, but I didn't allow her and I didn't enable her. I broke up with her. I took her shit and threw it all away. Took her clothes and ripped them up. I didn't talk to her for a long time. She approached me. I listened to her, and I believed that she was sincere, that she was sorry, and didn't want to ever do that again.
And she may have been completely sincere about all of that stuff. watch your memory when you think back to the times when you were strong. We hold on to those with life. We clutch at those with dear life, so we don't have to call ourselves a humiliated, shameful loser, beta, simp for the men. For women, I don't know the bad word you use about yourself, but we hold on for dear life.
Think about it. This is for you. Who cares what my fucking opinion is anymore? I'm just saying, give it some attention. Don't just accept the first thing your therapist says because they're not fully informed about this. Okay, if this was about drug addiction, we know about drug addiction. We've been studying drug addiction hard since.
So if this wasn't emotional abuse, it would be acceptable to call me a codependent. But this is unacceptable, misinformed.
The 80s and how to handle it and how to deal with it. I get that. But if your therapist wants to diagnose you, have a conversation with your therapist about narcissists. If they don't know the fuck you're talking about, how in the fuck can they diagnose you?
You should be going to a therapist who knows a lot about abuse, no matter what they tell you. Like, you need to go to that person. And not all therapists who cover abuse even like the term codependency. They might use a completely different term, but that's number one.
Their education is limited. Okay, guys? Talk to people who know about this. Talk to someone who has experienced this and is healthy now.
I don't think he's healthy here. He's definitely experienced it, and he's healthier than when the relationship ended. But I don't see, at least in this video, I don't see a very healthy person.
Someone that has healed and can tell you how to do it.
I don't see someone who's healed. The resentment, seeing people in resentment is, I think, one of the fastest and clearest ways to know that they haven't healed, or someone who's very resistant, close-minded would say that. Now, I think it's different if it's a fact that scientifically or philosophically or intellectually you're like, no, and here's why, and you're going to be strong and say close-minded about it. I don't think that is the same thing as what I see here, because he's not actually providing, in my opinion, a very good analysis of what is codependency, what isn't codependency. Here's why not. Here's why yes. All he's saying, it would appear, is that, yeah, I did all these things, but
Those are the people that will help you. A therapist with a $100,000 education and knows nothing about narcissists can't help you.
I agree. I totally agree. Totally agree. Uh, Someone with $100,000 education and narcissism, like, it knows about it. Yeah, let's go to that person if you can
That can
afford it.
actually hurt you. Okay? Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, as always, go down below and ask me. You know, share this video with someone else if you.
Okay, think about what it's hurting. What does it hurt? Well, shame is hurtful. Shame hurts. Shame is what hurts us. So that's what he's afraid of, is shame.
Good, help them. And if you like this video and you want to see more and you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys. Take care. Love yourself first. Bye-bye.
Love yourself first. Love yourself first. Love yourself first. Before you love anyone else, love yourself first. I don't even know what that means, but philosophically, when it comes to identity or who I am or what am I loving, is a bit tricky. And if I'm going to love myself first, um, I don't know. I mean, I know that maybe we're just playing some semantics here, but if everybody is intrinsically lovable and intrinsically deserves love, I don't know that you have to love yourself first, but I understand maybe to heal yourself um, first or something like that. So let's check out a bit more of his channel, shall we? Let's do it. And again, I just really want to show that when he made this video, his channel is called Crazy Narcissist X. I'm assuming, and then he changed it to DeMars Coaching. I'm assuming that was the original channel name. Yeah, I'm assuming that's what's up with that. So even to call it that is a problem. Okay, we'll look at. All right, so what I find strange, so this comment, I get it. This is the best video I've ever seen. My therapist keeps telling me I'm codependent and something happened in my childhood to become this way. There's no abuse. I've been feeling really bad that I could not figure out what happened in my childhood. Because of your video, all makes sense now. Thank you so much. So what this person is saying is that they were normal before the abuse. I think this can happen. I never enabled it. I did the best I could to help them, to encourage them. And I was the one that left. It wasn't that I was reliant on them to give me identity. My personality is so strong. I am naive, yes. Too trusting, yes. But codependent, no. I'm still trying to figure out the codependency thing, because I find that they can be very much like narcissists in how their behaviors manifest themselves, such as allowing themselves to become dependent on another, not seeking education or career skills, or allowing circumstance to dominate their lives / not taking control, changing themselves, their taste to suit their current partner, playing the martyr syndrome when they complain about how they do so much for everyone else, etc. Covert narcs do this as well. Codependents can lack empathy. I've known codependents who can't be alone, basically, but I've known narcs like that too. They're both so needy in different ways. They're both annoying to be around after enough time. So yeah, I think so. But isn't it interesting, this person will write this long thing to divorce themselves from this idea of codependency and is on this video about abuse. So the worst sides of our codependency is what she's saying. She's right. This is the word. This is the dysregulated. This is a dysregulated caretaker. Is you're desperate in the caretaking and stuff. Here's really interesting, right? This is what I was trying to comment on the other day. Since I was a kid, I never accepted people in my life as soon as I saw they were toxic. The ex-narc was covert, and I grew up in an overtly narc household and couldn't recognize a covert. As soon as I realized the abuse, I went no contact. So I'm not codependent. I was fooled. I was also brainwashed into thinking I needed him, the same way the narc parent did. Thanks so much for this. This is so important. So isn't that really interesting? So I had narcissistic parents, what she's saying. They were overtly abusive. So I looked for the signs of the abuse and I didn't see the signs of the abuse. I had my red flag checklist, I had all this stuff. This person fooled me. This is exactly my point. If you do not work on the true core trauma of this stuff and really heal those trauma bonds, all of them inside of you, all of them that, somebody who's a little bit different is going to escape that because you're, yeah, I don't know. It's like that you're taking it too literally. You're taking what is abuse in some ways too literally, or what's a narcissist or a borderline or whatever. You're taking it too literally, where it has to be these 10 things or these 5 things, or or whatever, as opposed to a feeling you have that you can genuinely trust. And it's only by exploring some of your dark sides that you've hidden forever. So this is someone who went to therapists and they thought that they were the problem and not the narcissistic person they are with. That sounds really terrible. You're both problems in different ways. Totally agree. I fought back and called it out. They like to break strong people. They're not human beings, right? That's what that says. Your story sounds very familiar. I helped my ex become somebody when she really didn't have any direction. Next thing I know, I'm blindsided by her discard and subsequent smear campaign. Now she does everything I expose her to and makes it like this is who she's always been. Yeah, that is what they'll do with their identity. Not for a second would she be anywhere without me. I did so much for her. That's what this is saying. I did everything for her. Now she's where she is because of me, and I got fucked over. There's nothing codependent about that. There's everything codependent about that. Used and duped, yeah. Narcissist sounds more codependent than the person they'd been lying to. This is until they can no longer hide the fact that they had been doing this. And of course, she quickly moved on to the next person that she could fool. Nothing like the smell of new blood when it comes to their bullshit existence. Thanks again for sharing your knowledge and expertise. Resentment, 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 resentment. If you are trapped in the resentment, there's no hope for real healing. The resentment in the beginning is important. So anyways, there's just more and more and more. Slam dunk. I clearly remember actively working on it, reading the book, and had renewed strength and a lot of confidence. So this person's not doing therapy, they're reading a book, right? That is when the narcs start to find me like flies to honey. They loved or feigned my strength and confidence. Wow, I was quite unaware of this until now. So actually, if I were codependent, they wouldn't have liked me. Okay. They told me I was a crazy bitch. And you're completely correct. Thanks again. These people are evil and they don't play fair ever. They don't play fair. That's very true. I still don't know what the fuck happened. Slowly, timelines and memories coming back, and it's becoming easier to let go. It's a weird feeling when people love the things about you that the narc constantly ripped on you for. Yeah, right? Destroyed identity. I became a codependent until I realized. I was conditioned from the beginning. Anyways. Say now. Latest. Oh, no fucking way. Cool. Cool. Let's watch this. Exactly what I'm talking about here. Let's have a look.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, I'm super excited about this. I'm super excited because this is 6 years later. So let's check in on the healing. Now he's coaching, right? So it's okay. He's still making stuff after 6 years. He's healing people, coaching people. Let's have a look.
For today's video, my name is David and this channel is DeMars Coaching, and this video is about borderline and identity disturbance and how it affects people around them, you. First, I want to say that borderline personality disorder is a serious mental illness that we need to take serious and be respectful of. Identity disturbance is a serious mental condition that I feel really bad for anybody who has this condition. I want you to know that there is help for all of you. There's help available. Seek it, get it, find it. Feel better, know who you are, and start making sure that your behaviors are in line with that, and you'll feel a whole lot better. Especially over time, you'll stop feeling like this, okay? But this video is about the people in the borderline's life, how it affects them. So this is caused by stress, identity disturbance, and it can happen at any age. With people with borderline personality disorder, this tends to happen early in age. Early on in their development, it might halt their development. It's associated with mental illness such as dissociative disorders, delusional disorders, and personality disorders, specifically borderline. It's actually a diagnostic trait in the DSM. The DSM says it's a markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. Identity disturbance is an inability or deficiency to maintain one or more major components of identity. So there's contradictory beliefs, thoughts and behaviors, changes in values, lack of commitment, feelings of emptiness, they may even say it, feeling a painful lack of consistency in self, role absorption, i.e. defining oneself in one role at a time. So when someone's unstable, it means they don't know who they are, okay? And, our emotions, our body doing things, we're not sure what they are, what they mean, why, what do I do about them, who am I, what role do I have in this world? Black and white thinking, splitting, idealize, devalue, huge. On and off, up and down, like a light switch. So as far as a role, this might make some sense to you guys, which is so confusing. One person at a time. You, then they have a friend, and they change. Then they talk to their ex, and they're different. Then they meet a stranger, they change again. They hang out or talk to a coworker, and they're different again. Then they go back to you, and they change again. Does that make sense? I know you guys have experienced this somewhat. Please let us know. Please, any examples that you can share. It might feel good just to get it out. No consistency whatsoever. None. Who is this person? We're all multifaceted, right? But a consistent person, is always them. No matter what they're doing, no matter where they're going, no matter how they feel, it's still them. And being unstable causes impulsivity. Boom. They may get intoxicated all of a sudden one night, too drunk, get high. Maybe they don't do drugs, but then they do drugs, abuse their medication, something, make mistakes, recover, apologize in the beginning, and then blame, 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 and repeat. And we just keep doing this over and over and over again, never learning, never changing. Hypervigilance for danger, because they can't protect themselves, and looking for external sources of comfort because they can't comfort themselves. Examples. Always have to have examples, don't I? I like them because they make me feel good. I value loyalty as they talk to others behind your back about you. I know I've been telling you how much I want to do this, but now I want to do this. That just sounds boring. And this is a lot cooler. This is you saying something. We were just talking about marriage and children last night, and now you think you want your ex back? I mean, geez, contradictions. What role? Oh, a mother and a wife? Oh, no, go back to the ex. Nope, can't commit. I feel empty inside. I don't know who I am. I'm going to get my certificate for this. But you were studying to be a... So what about the tuition I paid for? Hey, I'm with my mom having lunch. But you said you hate your mother last night. So common. I know you guys are going, oh, don't. Yep. Playing favorites in a group of people. I'm loving them. This is my BFF. Stranger. Ignoring you. Or not engaging with anyone. Except just you. running away out of nowhere, gone. The cab stops, they get out, run. You're in a park, an amusement park with people, gone. Their own birthday, see ya. Not coming home, out of nowhere, just not going to come home. Plans fail all the time. You ever tried to plan a future with borderline? Four major identity issues: long-term career goals or career choice. Good luck, huh? And you know, there's some borderlines, they find that role and that's it. They stick with their job for a long time. They usually can't manage much else. Friendship and relationship patterns. Boom, boom, whatever those patterns are. Quick. Strong, gone. Strong, gone. One at a time, remember? If they're dating you and they're all about you, they don't have friends. If they got a friend, they don't care about you. It's like a dog, you know, or something. My dog used to do that. Sexual orientation and behavior. Infamous, borderlines are infamous. I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm heterosexual. I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm heterosexual. I just call them trisexual, willing to try anything. Moral values and group loyalty.
That's amazing.
I believe in honesty. They lie. You're disrespecting me. You got to respect me. They don't respect anybody. Don't even respect themselves. Yeah. I'm all about loyalty. Group loyalty. Yeah. Go to one group, tell them what your group's doing, make them fight. These people can be extremely problematic. This causes you a ton of stress. The closer you are to this, it's stressful. A coworker like this could be stressful. A friend would be even more stressful, but a girlfriend or boyfriend, husband, wife, child like this is extreme stress. This will make you feel unstable yourself because you have to lose yourself. Anxiety, depression, and dependency is why it's so hard after it's over. To stop thinking about them, to stop being scared for them, to stop taking care of them, helping them. Anybody finds themselves in a position like this, with somebody like this, step outside the relationship and get help. That's always my best recommendation. Find professional help, talk about it, figure this stuff out with someone else, neutral, okay? Again, I'd love to hear your guys' examples. They're always so great. I know you guys.
So interesting. Let's move it quickly. This will be the updated video. This will be the updated video.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this video.
Let's check this out.
Today, my name's David. This video is about narcissists. It's about what you are doing to attract them, the real reason. First, I want to make sure that you guys understand that narcissistic personality disorder is a serious mental health disorder. It's very serious and has very specific criteria to diagnose someone with this disorder, and we're not going to do that today. We don't need to. We're talking about highly narcissistic people. We're all narcissistic. On the spectrum, we're in the middle. There's a few that aren't very at all, and there's way more than a few that are very highly narcissistic that meet the criteria. But today, we'll just say narcissistic people. I know a lot of people watching this video, my videos, they have, it's usually about somebody else in their family, someone they dated, someone they knew, someone they're with now, friend. And they want to know they're a narcissist or borderline, stuff like this. And David, does this apply to borderline? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Narcissistic. Most people with serious mental illness might be narcissistic. I think depression could be somewhat narcissistic, borderline for sure. This could fit for borderline. So we know kind of what narcissists hold important. And so when we're talking about who are they attracted to, the type of person they want and stuff like this, we think of the things that they hold important. And we know that it's stuff like appearance and style and status, money, sex, right? So we think of, maybe you take a male narcissist and who, if they're heterosexual or attracted to females, what would they be attracted to? And we think maybe someone of high social status, high rank, high position, with lots of money and power and very beautiful and gorgeous and sexy. We think that. And I'm not saying that that's not true, that they aren't. But we're missing something very important. They might like people that are beautiful, sexy, and have a lot of money, status. But you're missing the point here. These are narcissists. It's not about you at all. Those things are nice, only if they can attain them from you, I guess. But what they truly see as important to them is them. Them. Self-importance. Their appearance, their style, their rank in social status, their money. Right? They don't find it important in you, necessarily.
It's changed.
These are all fed by their ego, and they need you to feed that ego. What do you guys call it?
It's changed.
Fuel, energy, attention. You tell them these things. You tell them things that feed their ego. You tell them things that hold them self-important. You validate this and support it and hold it as important to you too. You're so pretty, so handsome, so cute. You are beautiful, gorgeous, sexy, hot, so strong, amazing. You're the best at sex. You're the best at your job. You are the best cop, police officer, fireman, politician, lawyer, doctor. You're the best. Best boyfriend ever, the best girlfriend, best athlete, smartest, best dressed, best looking, prettiest, hottest, all of it, all of it. They like that. Yeah. Yeah. To attract them, you must admire them. You must envy them. A little bit of jealousy. You must be, well, like this, insecure.
Dope, dope, dope.
You must always be impressed by them. You must feed their fantasies. Always be encouraging. Adore them. Make them feel special and unique all the time. Shower them with attention. Allow them to have every special privilege to you in your life and your body. Yeah. That's what they're attracted to. Things you'll do for them, not you. Because I know you guys say, oh, they like our good qualities and all this. Okay, yeah, I won't say no. Compared to someone with narcissistic personality disorder, other people tend to be the good person, they're the bad person. Sure, we have some good qualities, yeah. Like extreme loyalty, no matter what. No matter what. There's some things here I'm going to tell you that's required. The real reasons they're attracted to you. And you guys might not like this, and you guys might disagree with me. Please do. But you must accept never receiving anything in return. You must be the type of person that requires zero reciprocation. A predator picks it up like that. Easy. You must be totally self-sacrificing, aren't we? You must have at least lower self-esteem. These were...
This is fucking great. I'm so happy to see this. This fills me with a lot of joy to see him say these things. This is what a very joyous moment, you know? People grow. This is 6 years later. This is 6 years later. Isn't this wonderful? This is really, really wonderful. This is I think, a significant and great contribution to this space.
Very difficult things for me to accept. Poor boundaries. That's a measure of our self-worth. We have to. We have to give up what they want because they seek immediate gratification. We want long-term, they want short-term. They want something we may not even value much, but we don't want to give it up. And if we do, we have to have looser morals, right? We might be honest, but it's okay to have liars in our life, right? We don't cheat. We're loyal, but it's okay if someone cheats on us. We have to be completely agreeable. Yes, okay, that's okay. All right, fine. These are the things that you are putting out there. Things that we may not identify about ourselves very well, but boy, do people like narcissists identify pretty well. Don't forget, narcissists themselves have low self-worth, low self-esteem. Might be another argument. Sure, I get arguments about that sometimes. But low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-respect. And so they don't punch up that high. I know it hurts. Just think about it. It's good to know these things and be aware of it and identify this stuff so we can fix it. So we aren't attracting narcissists, and so we aren't attracted to them either. God, David, why am I just attracted to so many borderlines? I just don't get it. The question is why are you attracted to borderlines so much? That's the question. Who cares about everybody else? What's the common denominator? Let me know what you guys think about all my examples, about the real reason. I know I'm going to get some people to disagree, and I totally invite it. Just be respectful, right? We can engage in conversation and argument if you want. That's fine. Yeah. I'm not claiming I know anything. This is just what I think. Okay? I don't know squat. So enlighten me, educate me, but more so just engage, please. I love it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, vote up and down on the video, please, and tell us your examples, stuff like that. I appreciate that. Love yourself first, guys. Bye-bye.
Wow. Wow. Yep. I'm gonna huge fucking like on that one. Holy shit. This fills me with such joy. It's getting a bit dark. That fills me with a tremendous amount of joy. What a like, wow. What an amazing progress this human being has, this transformation. It is oh, it's so joyous uh to see something like that. Congratulations. Uh maybe that's condescending, but um yeah, just applause, man. Applause for that that piece. Look at the way he talks, the difference between a year, like 6 years ago, a year after you first started doing coaching and stuff, and where he's at now. That shows his own personal development, where look what he did there. He actually took the focus onto you and said, it's your low self-esteem. It's all of these pieces. And in the first video, he's telling us how I stuck up to her, I fought her back. I was ignorant. I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. Those are still true, but we overemphasize them because we don't our dysregulated personality is just too much for us to look at and to handle. It could be that low self-esteem, low self-worth, that we're so close to shame that it's so dangerous, for us to look at it, certainly when we come out of the relationship. But I would beg to argue even before we got into a relationship like that. So this is just, wow, it's so um wonderful to see that. And his invitations, don't they seem so sincere? Hey, disagree with me, invite it. Hey, I know, I'm already expecting you're going to put up resistance to this. How does he know? Well, he's been doing this a while, so he's seen it a lot, but he knows it on a personal level. He also put up that resistance. So, man, my heart is so overjoyed from seeing this. Um, what a wonderful contributor to the space he is. And it's going to change now the way I edit this video and what I'm going to do about it, because that is just absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I don't know how much his coaching is, but if you're looking for a coach, this is someone who, just from seeing the difference between his two videos, I would um I don't know, give a neutral to approval. I shouldn't just jump in, I shouldn't just like love bomb uh this person, but like, what an amazing thing to see. And when you've healed, like when you've really, really come out of it, um the resentment shouldn't be at the surface. Maybe it will never go completely, like, we're humans, maybe, I'm sure some, it's gone forever. um but we need to be human beings about this, right? Like that, like flawed within ourselves, and compassionate towards people who suffer on any side of this. So that just filled me so much joy. I'm so happy. This like really, really, really made my day. This really was like maybe one of the best things um I have experienced today, was seeing this. That's fucking amazing. And it shows you too, I hope it shows you that it is possible to heal, and it is possible to, be able to let go. Um, and but it's only through the self exploration where the letting go begins, because it's not just letting go of the relationship. It's an embrace and an exploration, a curiosity about yourself, and especially the things that are privately scarier for you to look at and explore. Peace to all of you. I wish you all healing. Go check out DeMars coaching. It's no longer crazy ex-girlfriend intro, right? So that's a huge, huge progression.